Ever since the mid-90s, Korean cinema has seen a rise in popularity, becoming a major player on the global stage. This phenomenon is also known as the Korean New Wave cinema, exemplified by experimental genre-bending films indulging in risque political commentary. Director Bong Joon-ho is easily one of the most recognizable pioneers of this movement. While Bong's filmography ranges from whodunits like Mother to monster films like The Host, his most beloved films are unarguably Snowpiercer and Parasite, the latter making a historic sweep at the 2020 Academy Awards. In 2013's Snowpiercer, a failed climate change experiment spurred on the Second Ice Age, forcing survivors to live on a single train traveling around the world in an endless loop. Parasite, on the other hand, follows the Kim family, who schemes their way into getting employed by the wealthy Park family and now find themselves forming a symbiotic relationship with them. Both films are not unfamiliar to us typical moviegoers. They are tales as old as time. Or at least as old as capitalism and exploitation it ensues.
근데 연기력도 연기력이지만 이댁 식구들은 참 잘 속아, 그지?
사모님이 특히 좀 거시기하지.
맞아. 이 사모님이 참 순진해, 착하고. 부자인데 착하다니까.
부자인데 착해가 아니라 부자니까 착한 거지. 뭔 소린지 알아? 솔직히. 이 돈이 다 나한테 있었어, 뭐. 나는 더 착하지. 착해.
그건 그래. 네 엄마 말이 맞아.
The descending sequence of the Kim family running barefoot in the pouring rain from the house on a hill to their own squalid half-basement apartment in the lowland part of the city is not only visually striking, but also a prelude of the dominant effect, listed as one of the characteristics of the religion of capitalism: despair. Throughout Snowpiercer and Parasite, Bong uses vertical and lateral structures to represent societal hierarchies perpetrated by capitalism and the class conflict that ensues. Parasite is teeming with symbolism. From the rock representing a hollow superficial form, a meritocratic hope, to the use of overt bodily responses to odors that represent the dirty truth of how the untouchable rich view the lower classes. But the most straightforward allegory has to be the respective altitudes of the Kim and Park families' houses. For example, when Ki first arrives at the Park residence for his interview, he climbs up a spiral staircase from the gate to arrive at the actual compound, all of which is being shot from a low angle. Even from a brief glance, the contrast between the Park family's towering excess and Kiwoo's insignificance is established. On the other hand, basements represent the claustrophobic and entrapping nature of the lower social classes. For instance, they're the Kims living in a semi-basement apartment in a poor neighborhood of the city that floods to the waist during a rainstorm. Similarly, there is also Gyeongsae hidden in the Park family's basement, only to be replaced by Mr. Kim at the end of the film.
한국에선 반지하라고 하죠. Semi basement is very specific the way of the Korean living for the poor people, but actually semi basement means also semi overground.
Yeah, so it gives you like a little bit of hope because it's not like fully underground, but it's half away.
If you think about it, while the Kim family's main objective is to break into the system with a capital S and possibly climb up the social ladder with dreams of taking over the house, they still end up in the same underground space by the end of the movie. A haunting allegory to the cyclic nature of capitalism and how an outsider can never break into its architecture. Unless someone breaks it apart from within. Similarly, Snowpiercer utilizes architecture, framing, and camera movement to portray class progression, but this time laterally. So let's take a look at how the train Snowpiercer is structured. We have the poorest residents packed together at the end of the train. The scenes are of a grimy, gritty green, and the walls have no windows, not unlike the Park family's basement at Parasite. While in contrast, the rich and bougie live in incremental states of abundance and are seemingly carefree as Curtis's group advances, only to arrive at the head engine at the very front tip of the Snowpiercer, its stark, lifeless, white and metallic grays making for a haunting visual experience. This time the character's journey entail not a climb to the top, but a very lateral trek forward. The majority of the film is shot from the right side of the locomotive, and insofar as the protagonists advance from the tail section to the front car, the story becomes, in the eyes of the viewer, a simple matter of going screen right. In addition, close-up profile shots are used on Curtis in times of dilemma and vulnerability. For example, when Curtis learns about his mentor's scheming with Wilford to stage this revolution, Curtis's grief is shown in a close-up profile shot with him facing screen left. His entire face diminishes in darkness, although the entire room is shown to be lit up by the light of the engine. Fidelity to the laws of light is sacrificed to highlight Curtis's duress and loss of identity. Perhaps the only moment in Snowpiercer where this linear progression from screen left to screen right is destructed is at the end of the film where Yana, Namgoon's daughter, and Timmy escape from the train through a door on the side that was blown up at the suggestion of Namgoon. Lee and Manikastri write in the article, "Not all are aboard decolonizing Exodus Junho Bong's Snowpiercer," that, quote, "Bong thinks the mark of revolutionary politics is the ability to refuse, leave behind, and go beyond ruler/rule dynamics," end quote. This breaking out of the eternal cycle of the Snowpiercer by two young survivors, the daughter of an outcast who was educated with the ways of the world gone ignored by the rest, and the literal child of Omulis, presents a much more hopeful ending to this story of the woes of capitalism.
아니 뭐 캡틴 아메리카를 저렇게 지저분하게 만들려고 영화를 한 건 아닌데 어쩌다 보니 저렇게 된 건데 그래서 뭐 이게 헐리우드 진출을 한다, 헐리우드 영화를 한다 이런 개념은 사실 아니었던 거고 이게 인류의 생존자들이 기차에 있는 거니까. 근데 그 인류의 생존자들 캐릭터가 전부 다 뭐 남한, 북한 사람들로 채워져 있으면 이상하잖아요. 그래서 자연스럽게 다양한 국제적인 캐스팅을 미국, 유럽, 뭐 아시아 배우들이 다 뒤섞이는 캐스팅을 할 수밖에 없었던 거였고, 그 사실은 한국 영화예요. 그 잉글리시 랭귀지 배우들이 캐스팅돼 있는 한국 그러니까 제작사나 이제 스튜디오 투자사는 다 한국 회사였죠.
Both Parasite and Snowpiercer are exemplary of Bong Joon-ho's signature brand of transnational cinema. Even if Bong himself has expressed on multiple occasions that it had never been his intention. In Why America Studies Needs to Think About Korean Cinema, Christine Klein argues that the formulaic nature of genre films make them, quote, easy to export, requiring of viewers no deep familiarity with a foreign culture, but only the more easily acquired mastery of a set with generic convention, end quote. Snowpiercer was a South Korean-Czech co-production, with the majority of its dialogue in English and countless Hollywood A-listers as cast members. And while Parasite's production was more centralized in South Korea, its blend of Korean family dynamics and the more universal problems of capitalism, in a genre film typical of formulaic Hollywood thrillers, made the film more accessible and recognizable universally. As demonstrated by Snowpiercer and Parasite, it would not even be an exaggeration to say that Bong Joon-ho's films are infatuated with class strife. And it is how this infatuation is translated to a universal audience through the visual language of cinema, while still retaining a sense of Korean realism that makes Bong one of the key figures of just not only the Korean New Wave cinema movement, but global cinema in general. While his career is in no way young, it is still in no way slowing down. And it's exciting to us young filmmakers and critics of cinema, living in the same generation as him, to see just what kind of extremes his stories will take us to next.
배고픈데. 영화가 배고프다. 좋아하네.